From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
Good day to you. I'm Marilee Joyce. This is Eye on Washington. It's the only Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. And every week, Eye on Washington takes you to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you. Today's topic, protecting pets during emergencies, what's being done at the federal level to establish federal preparedness standards for commercial animal facilities. We'll find out from the author of the legislation to do just that. She is Nevada guest. My guest today, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Dina Titus. Well, maybe you have an evacuation plan for when disaster strikes, but what about for your pets? And what about commercial facilities where animals are held? Well, today on Eye on Washington, we'll tell you about my guest's bill to help protect animals during man-made disasters and other emergencies. We'll find out what the Humane Society says Katrina taught us about pet care during such crisis, and we'll give you a plan so you and your pets are ready if disaster strikes. Well, earlier this year, 2,500 animal welfare advocates met in New Orleans for the Humane Society's Animal Care Expo. It focused on large animal rescue operation, the largest one in American history during Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Now, Katrina was called a transformative moment for animal disaster planning. Since then, we've seen the passage of 16 state laws and the Federal Pet Evacuation Standards and Transportation Act to include animals in disaster plans. And Congresswoman, we're going to get to your own animal protection work in a bit, but I wanted to focus first this segment on kind of the overall issue. You know, the Humane Society release on this big event that they just had, they shared their alarm over the head of FEMA, who during Katrina said, quote, "They are not our concern," when he was asked about rescuing pets during a storm.
I know, and that's terrible because people feel very close to their pets. In fact, the statistics show that 44% of people who stayed in their home and didn't want to evacuate did so because they didn't want to leave their pets behind. Yeah,
and Humane Society leader Wayne Pacelli was blogging this year that the comment showed a profound lack of understanding of the human and to animal bond, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about here.
Exactly. People don't, they're like children to some people, so senior citizens, young children who have companions. If you have a disability and you rely on an animal for help, you don't want to leave that animal behind.
Well, that's just it. You know, your bill focuses largely on the commercial facilities like research lab, exhibitors, dealers, and the like. And part of your reason, which we're going to detail in just a bit, is that these places have no plans to make things, it's more challenging for first responders that are risking their lives to save the animals there, correct?
Well, that's right. The first responder wants to get the people out first, but if people are reluctant to go because there are animals there and you're not going to take the animal, then it causes a breakdown in communication and service in a timely manner.
So the expo, it also included important information on the importance of sterilization and vaccinations at that the big conference.
Well, there are a lot of things that you can do to prepare, and you know, even after Katrina, even after all the news, 1 in 3 people are not prepared. They kind of are reactive if a crisis occurs, and then it may be too late.
And you're right. You know, one of the big things that they talked about at that expo about the many lessons learned from Hurricane Katrina regarding taking care of your pet is exactly what you said. You know, when we're watching the tragedy from our televisions and hearing about it on the radio, and you're seeing or hearing about these people who are, you know, in our minds, just adamantly not leaving their home. So many of them, they're not going to leave their animal because it's like their child.
Well, exactly, or some animal that they depend on, and I would hate to leave Tio behind. I can understand that just from a personal standpoint.
They also had the reminder to adopt from, you know, shelters and rescue facilities, because a lot of these pets that are left behind, they end up in those places, don't they?
Well, that's right. 250,000 animals were either left behind or died in Katrina, and those animals need a home. So that's where you should go to find a pet if you're in the market for one.
You know, I read that one man refused to be rescued from his floating raft if he couldn't take his dog, because his dog was all he had left. He'd lost everything else. That is just heartbreaking.
Well, there was a story in the news just recently of the flooding in South Carolina where they had to rescue a senior who wouldn't leave his little Yorkie behind.
Right?
And so they rescued them both.
Wow. And also the animal, I heard last month too, that animal abandonment, that issue is a big problem with the Syrian refugees too.
Oh, well, I can imagine that would be the case.
And when we return, when disaster hits, are commercial animal facilities prepared to safeguard animals under their care? Well, my guest says no. Her work to change that. Details just ahead.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, brought to you by Caesars Entertainment, the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Boyd Gaming, NB Energy, the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada, Rogich Communications Group, and Jim Marsh Automotive. Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit JoyceCommunications.com and subscribe today.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. Play responsibly.
We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
I got a call during training camp. My son was born 5 weeks early with end-stage renal failure. We started dialysis at about 9 months. We hooked him up every single night, and then they said we need to get him a transplant. And my wife, amazingly, was a match. The second he had that transplant, he wanted to eat. Fast forward 5 years, he's in kindergarten, rides his bike, does all the normal stuff a 6-year-old does. I don't think there's anything more special than giving life.
Help Nevada Humane Society save the lives of orphan kittens by becoming a foster care volunteer. Over 2,000 kittens a year need temporary care.
These kittens need food and personal attention until they're old enough for adoption. Foster care is fun, rewarding, and truly saves lives.
I love fostering. I have fostered almost 50 kittens so far, and it is so rewarding.
If you can foster kittens for a few weeks, we can find them homes for life. To learn how you can become a foster care volunteer, call or visit Nevada Humane Society.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of the need for federal standards to help protect animals in emergency situations. My guest today is Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Dina Titus. So we do have a federal law regarding standards for the care and treatment of animals, but no federal law protecting them during disasters. Well, the Congresswoman says it's time to change that, and her Animal Emergency Planning Act would require entities regulated under the Animal Welfare Act to develop emergency contingency plans using federally established standards. Such facilities include commercial animal dealers, exhibitors, and research facilities. The goal is to minimize the impact of disasters on the animals under their care. So, Congresswoman, you want to see these folks develop a response plan and kind of demonstrate a certain level of preparedness, correct?
Well, that's right.
How does that all work?
Well, after Katrina, Congress passed the PETS bill, which deals with having FEMA design plans for evacuating individual pets, but nothing was done for commercial facilities. There was to be a rule developed by USDA, but once they got it written, they just didn't adopt it. They postponed it. So I said, that's not acceptable. We need commercial facilities included too. And you mentioned earlier 16 states have kind of laws like this in place. One of those was a law that I passed when I was in Carson City,
Is that right?
which was requiring local entities to come up with some kind of plan, like a place to evacuate pets to, a place to hold pets, some kind of part of their plan. So we got local governments covered, we've got individual pets covered, now we need these facilities covered.
So, you know, here's a quote from you about your bill. You said, quote, "It's only fair and reasonable to require some demonstration of readiness from those who earn a living from animal-related businesses." So, you know, it's not enough to just take our pets in and you know, they're making money off it, but they're not prepared if the worst happens.
Well, that's right. And we're not putting strict regulation. We're not doing something that's going to interfere with their business or their research facility. It's just a requirement to have a plan of evacuation should some kind of emergency strike.
Are there many of these types of facilities, et cetera, in Nevada?
Well, you might include the university's research center. That might be part of it. The wholesale pet dealers. There may not be a lot in Nevada, but certainly there are a lot in California and some of the other states.
And nationally, of course.
Right.
So the Humane Society Expo, you know, looked at lessons from Katrina and the lack of preparation regarding pet protection, but you wrote your bill partly due to concern that there's no coordination among the animal facilities, and that means greater risk, again, as those first responders are trying to save the animals from those places.
That's right. This is about public safety and public health, not just for the animals, but for the people and for the rescuers. Everybody will be better off if there's a plan. You know how to take care of the animal, where to take the animal. You know that you will be reunited with your animal because you can identify it and know where it's going to be. All of those things affect everybody involved, and that's why I think this is a win-win-win.
So I know that you knew that there was no federal law to protect the animals in these places, excuse me, during disasters. Is that the only thing that led you to do it, which is big enough in itself, or had you heard any stories about anything that had happened either in Nevada or nationally? Had you heard anything that alarmed you enough to get this together?
Well, just the statistics coming out of Katrina, and then we heard some statistics coming out of the recent flooding of a facility that got flooded and a lot of shelter animals died. You know, those stories just pull at your heartstrings. And I've been very much involved in animal issues from the beginning, whether it was puppy mills or transporting animals or regulations of zoos and circuses, trapping. All of those are things that I care a lot about.
What else should we know about your bill, and what kind of support does it have right now?
Well, we've got some bipartisan support for it. We'd like to see it move forward. We're going to keep pushing it. In the meantime, we're also going to be pushing USDA to enact the rule. If we can get this done through rule and regulation as well as through legislation, that's fine. We just want to get it done.
Who could possibly be against something that's helping our animals?
Well,
are there people that are against it, really?
Well, they don't like
They have a lot of facilities in their state?
Maybe they think it's a business problem, or maybe they just don't like government intervention, or maybe they're just anti-regulation. But those are pretty hard arguments to make when the public has about 75% of the people who own a pet and care very much about that pet.
Wow, boy, oh boy. When we return, do you have a disaster plan for your pets? How to keep pets safe in natural disasters and everyday emergencies. We're going to tell you how. That's next.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, the only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. All the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Marilee talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
was the first woman ever to deploy on a Strategic Air Command deployment.
You didn't just serve your country.
I lobbied for women to be on board submarines.
You paved the way for others.
I joined the Army because I wanted a challenge.
And the challenges you face now? Your VA delivers a variety of benefits. Learn more, including how to apply online using e-benefits.
No matter what time it is, you've earned them. Apply today.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. Play responsibly.
We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
Oh, hey, bud. Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
With Gary and Todd?
Yeah?
I've been meaning to ask you, is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No.
If any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of one Nevada leader's work to protect our pets when disaster strikes. And we've been visiting with her, of course, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Dina Titus. So in the event of a disaster or emergency, do you have a plan for your pets? Well, according to the Humane Society of the United States, the best way to keep your pets safe during an emergency is to keep them with you. And here's their quick look at how you can start getting ready right now. You should ID your pet. Make sure its collars and tags are up to date. Call your Office of Emergency Management to see if local shelters will take people and pets. And if not, try a kennel, a vet's office, or animal shelter. See if family or friends would shelter you and the pets, or even just the pets. And give someone you trust a key to your home in case you're not there when a disaster hits. So, Congresswoman, you know, the Humane Society stresses throughout this advice that if you evacuate, take your pet with you, because pets left behind in a disaster are easily injured, lost, or killed.
That's exactly right. That's the best way to keep it safe. Also, the ID part is very important, to keep your tags and always a collar. And if you can, put a chip in the pet. You know, you can get a microchip that identifies the pet that any veterinarian can read and recognize. That's also helpful.
You know, and you always, folks who own dogs seem to have no problem with this. There are some people who own cats who are like, oh, I can't put a collar on my little kitty. You got to ID the cats too. Right.
My kitty has a collar, has my name on it, my phone number, and has a chip. So
Tio's ready to go.
That's right. You know, something else they recommend is keep a little go bag, so that if you ever had to go in an emergency, you may have one for yourself, but think about one for your pet that's got some, like a little blanket or some food, some water, so you're ready to go.
In fact, in addition to that go bag, I was going to tell you, you know, another thing that Humane Society says, another tip is to bring your pet inside as soon as you learn there's trouble on the way, and even designate a safe room for emergency supplies, including a pet crate, supplies, medication, pet food, and water inside watertight containers.
Well, that's right.
So think of those things now when there's no emergency.
Store it and you'll have it ready. And also many people, and this is a good idea too, put a sticker on their door so that a firefighter or some EMT will see the sticker and know that inside's a dog or two dogs or a cat or whatever, so they'll know when they come in what to expect.
So back to your bill on federal standards, just for a moment on the animal facilities. You said it's not a big problem in Nevada, but even any state, even like Nevada, that has pet stores or research places like at our universities, etc., got to make sure those pets are going to get out.
That's
or
right.
be
Wholesale
protected.
pet dealers, zoos, maybe circuses that have animals,
big.
large animals, and a number of different animals. We want to be sure that nobody's kind of falling through the gaps.
And we also have to remember that, you know, you mentioned during the break, we were talking about cute Tio and that Persian cat of yours that you said came from a shelter.
That's right. I'm a big advocate for adopting.
I was going to say, you know, we, after disasters or nothing to do with a disaster, some people just decide, oh, you know, this cat or dog's had so many, a litter, this many puppies, I don't want them, or, you know, and they're abandoned or what have you, and adopt and go to, you know.
Well, we saw this in Las Vegas when there were so many housing foreclosures and people just moved out, they abandoned their house, and they left their pets behind. So there was a lot of pets that could be adopted. And another new thing you're seeing is more women's shelters for homeless women or women who leave because of domestic violence are now taking in pets, because sometimes the woman won't leave an abusive husband because she can't take the pet.
Wow. All right, when we return, it's time for our mailbag, and we have one coming from someone named Robert right after this.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. Play responsibly.
We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. The only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. All the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Marilee talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
This girl is very pretty. It's inciting feelings of jealousy in me. We should pick on her.
I'm insecure about some things, so I think we should put some mean stuff on here. Maybe even some lies, too.
Yeah.
I just want to be accepted by you both. So I'm going to send this to my friends so they think I'm cool.
Kids bully for all kinds of reasons. None of them are good. Find ways to get involved at flipthescriptnow.org.
Having your child hospitalized can be a terrifying experience for any parent. In one moment, everything can change. Here at the Reno Ronald McDonald House, we can help. We keep families together when it matters the most by providing a home away from home for families with children in the hospital. Parents who stay at the Ronald McDonald House have more time with their children during the healing process. Please contact us today for more information and to see how you can help. Donate online at rmhc-reno.org.
Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit joycecommunications.com and subscribe today.
And we're back with our closing segment of today's Eye on Washington show. This is our mailbag segment, and it's time for you to participate in the program. You can send a letter to our Joyce Communications website, and if you haven't yet, why not? You just send a comment or question to Congresswoman Titus or one of the other delegation members, and if your letter's selected, I'm going to read it to our guest right here on the show. And Congresswoman, we have a letter from Robert S. of Las Vegas written just to you. He says, Congresswoman Titus, there's a lot of talk about diversity in the federal government these days. Yeah. Can you describe what a diverse population does for your district and what advantages it gives there?
Well, I have a fabulous district. It's the heart of the Las Vegas Valley. It goes from the airport to Cashman Field, Durango to Nellis. So it's right there in the middle of the Las Vegas Valley. And it is the most diverse district in the state. We have got a very large Asian population on the west side from countries all across Asia. We've got a large Hispanic population on the east side. We've got the Armenian church, the Greek church, Ethiopian cab drivers. They're all right there in District 1. And I think it makes the district more exciting. I go to a lot of ethnic food festivals, for example. Attend a lot of church services. I just brought back some books from a trip to Nepal that we've given to an elementary school because there are 6 Nepal children there, and these are all written in Nepalese, which I can't read, but that they will be able to enjoy. So I think it just makes the district more interesting. We have more cultural activities. We are able to take advantage of all the wonderful talent that people from all around the world bring. So I can't say enough about it.
As a Congresswoman, as the person here in Washington representing District 1, what's your role here on the Hill to make sure the needs of such a diverse population, that everyone's needs are met?
Well, sometimes you think these groups are going to work against each other because everybody has a different history or maybe some different languages or something. But by and large, I haven't found that in District 1. Everybody here has the common goal. They want their children to do better than they did. They want them to get a good education. They want to have an opportunity to do better themselves, whether that's to get a good job or get a good education or have their small businesses succeed. So there's kind of that common goal. My grandfather came to this country from Greece, and those were the same goals that he had 100 years ago.
What would you like to see happen here on the Hill to, meet the needs of not only in Nevada diversity, but also nationwide?
Well, we've got to pass comprehensive immigration reform. There is no question about that. The old immigration system does not work. We need to have a system that fixes those problems, gives people a pathway to citizenship, allows children who come over here through no fault of their own to go to college and not worry about being deported. I think that covers a whole range of immigration and ethnic groups.
All right, any other words for Robert S. of Las Vegas?
Well, no, but I appreciate the question. I just wonder what his ethnicity is.
Okay, thanks for being here
on
the animal protection stuff, and I hope that bill, good luck with it.
We'll work on it.
All right, thank you. Thanks for being here again. That is it for this week's Eye on Washington. I hope you will join us next time as we discuss more important federal matters and their impact on you in Nevada. You can visit Joyce Communications or our Facebook page for more of the very latest from the Hill that impacts your life. Follow me on Twitter and go to our YouTube page for any shows you may have missed. I am Marilee Joyce in Washington, D.C. I hope you have a great day today.